And here we are on the next episode of Irish Iron. Today's guest is DonMaguire. For anyone listening or watching, Don is a natural men's physique competitor. You've won your class in the NBFI, haven't you, before?
Yeah. So that was 2018. I won my class in the NBFI. And then, we got, I think the NABBA was the other placing that we had. So that was an interesting one to try and bring myself into the bigger leagues, I suppose. So
yeah, my thoughts on that are I think men's physique is an interesting class because you do get natural athletes that can bridge it. It's such a structure based thing. Like there's nobody gonna be outsizing anybody. So it's literally if you're born with a good structure or you come in condition, you'll place well in any federation.
yeah,
Anyway.
absolutely. I suppose from my standpoint, I kind of didn't realize that I had a good structure because my thing was always more sport. It was always more football. It was always more soccer. So that was what I was always gravitated towards. But I done my shoulder in my late teens. So I really can't risk playing football anymore. And I suppose I just transitioned from there into bodybuilding. Once I found it, that was me sold really. So.
Did you start weight training when it was was it rehab for your shoulder then? Was it just you got in the gym to strengthen up a little bit?
It was tough enough. I think it was just realizing what movements I could and realizing what I couldn't do. And I suppose looking more into that gave me more detail on what movements would suit me and what didn't. And as I progressed, I seemed to show a natural kind of structure then as soon as I started to come into this. So I'm still a baby and the fitness scene, I suppose. This is what year 6 of training.
Okay. I mean, how old are you, Don? Like, you're in your...
I'm just 30, so I'm getting on as far as my chronological age, but training age, we're just pushed past those beginner years, I suppose.
But I almost think there is benefits to starting a bit later on because it's like if I think I made a mistake because I started so young. I was 15 when I started bodybuilding, and then I competed at 18. So I was training with the aim. I went into the gym to compete. So I don't think I understood what was going on, right? So I think if you're a bit older, you can make smarter decisions, and you just can pick and choose what you want to do a little bit better. So I mean, when you got into it, did you find it was a nice did you know anybody in the industry or anything, or how did you get into it? Because
no one at all actually. I started out my first 2 years were basically a waste as far as I'm concerned, as far as me wanting to get into this side of the industry. We trained, but we trained all wrong. For me, for my body type, I was just kind of training with anyone and in any way. And there was a lot of stuff that I did that I would change now because of what I know. But I knew no one in it, and it's kind of grown naturally. And obviously, my other half, Marion, as well, she competes, so we kind of had that similar interest, and that for both of us only happened 4 years ago. From there, we just met everyone, the likes of yourself and the likes of Glenn and stuff, and a lot of people now we'd have conversations with
for sure
about bodybuilding and stuff, and I mean that's how this place came about. So that's an interesting thing because going back to dating a competitor, I've never done it. I've always dated people who were out of the industry, and I always prepped. I was never in a relationship for any of my shows. So I mean, how is the dynamic with both of you competing? Do you think that's it's just you understand each other? There's no stress in terms of telling her you're going to be grumpy for prep or anything like that. You both just do it, or how does it work? Yeah, I think you really just have to understand each other, and you really have to understand the little quirks and the little things that are going to make it difficult. She's a very understanding person. She's herself, she's gone into a very understanding career. So for us, it was more just knowing that it was prep that was causing certain things. And I mean, you had me on prep at that time. I was working full time in the gym as well and taking clients. And then she was there. She was studying in college and stuff. And I mean, our first competing, we were doing it together. And we were both training with Paul Morgan in Westside.
Okay.
So then we were down once a month to Dublin for a proper check-in, and then when it came up to showtime, we were going down once a week actually from Donegal. So so it was quite demanding in that in itself. And then Marion as well has two little girls, so there was all that kind of compressed into one. And I think it's where we've got this drive now of if we can do that, we can do anything really.
Oh, for sure. Would you still be working with Paul, or would you be?
Not at the moment. We decided after that, we talked to Paul about it, and it was just such a difficulty with everything that was going on, because I wasn't having the best time with the last gym that I was in. Hence this. they basically just didn't like my ideas to move the place forward as far as a gym and as far as integrating the bodybuilding side of the community. And the long and short of it in the end was I was kind of told, look, if it doesn't suit, then, well, maybe you could go elsewhere, which suited Marion brilliantly. She went to Railway Gym in Lifford, if you ever heard of it.
I know.
So a very, very, very prominent bodybuilding gym, and if any of the subscribers haven't checked it out, then they should, because it's 20 minutes from me. And I couldn't recommend the place enough. It's absolutely brilliant, and I've had a lot of support from them as well, because I'm trying to bring this, I suppose, the bodybuilding side to the locality as well, rather than just going for all classes, because we're totally open gym. We don't do classes here, so it's all totally open gym.
It's just a commercial setup, just like a public.
But basically, from like as far as the thing with Paul went, is he got me absolutely peeled for my first shows, but I knew I was too small. I just was too small, and obviously I'm going to be quite small. But as far as then coming back, I prepped myself then. And yeah, that's the year then that we got NBFI and second in NABBA. So
deadly. I mean, how many shows have you done at this point? Like, have you competed every year, or have you taken a break?
I think it was I done 2 seasons, and I think I done 5 shows.
Okay.
So out of the 5, I done nationals, and I done the other 2 then. So NBFI and NABBA.
Yeah.
I think I done I done nationals and NABBA the first year, and I hadn't heard about NBFI. And then the second year I went for that as well.
I'll tell you a funny story. In 2013. When I was going to first compete, the NBFI, that was its first year in Ireland. So what happened was nobody knew about it because it was so new. So I only found out about it I found out about it basically 8 weeks before the show. So I had 2 options. It was either compete naturally or end up going enhanced and just doing NABBA and doing RBBF, which is what I did anyway. But it's a shame because I always tell people this, and I'm sure you're of a similar mindset. I try to keep people natural as long as possible when competing, or at least getting ready for something. At least see if you can get in condition and reach your potential, and then you can make your choice. But I mean, as far as your own journey, I mean, do you have any aims? Do you know that, like, more than likely, like, it's a tough playing field when you're in the enhanced game and you're a natural guy? I mean, what's your thoughts on that? Like,
well, I mean, for me, it's one of those things for me where it's like, I'm gonna, as you said, you try to keep people as natural as long as possible. So they can then make that informed choice as well, because if you have a good coach or you have good people around you, then they can actually advise you in the right direction. I've had multiple people come to me and ask me about PEDs and stuff, and I'm like, look, I'm not the guy to talk to because I haven't looked near it. There's far better out there that can let you know a lot more information about them, and they might even take them themselves, but they're well educated on it. So I just what I say to them is, I'm not going to lie, like, and I don't ever sugarcoat anything as far as my idea or my notion, and that's I'm going to see where I can take this naturally.
Cool.
I mean, on stage, when I look at my last time stepping on stage, I was only 64 kilos, and that's when I got the second to NABBA.
Yeah.
At the moment, I'm sitting still quite lean, but I'm at 80 kilos,
Okay.
and that's 2 years on. So it's kind of that. I know there's a lot more growing that can be done.
For sure.
And now I can't lie, my food is terrible. Like, I'm so bad at the minute. And even with the lockdown, you think that for me it would kind of focus me in on it, but I'm so focused on getting this place set up the way I want it. And before that, it was 90-hour weeks. Like, I literally was the only staff member, so it was 90 hours in the gym a week.
Great.
And I think it's just that thing of, if you're not giving everything now, then there's no point thinking that you're going to go on something.
Bear with me there. I think I've lost you for a second there, Don. No, you're back. No, absolutely, I agree 100% with you. And the reason being, it's like it's a choice you can't go back on. It really isn't. It's a choice that will end up not causing damage or anything. I'm not saying that. It's more just, you're not going to progress. You won't physically progress off it once you hop on it. So it's like, that's my only caveat to that. So I just tell people, look, end of the day, you can do what you want to do, but I actually talk to the natural guys for all the nutrition advice, and the reason being is because you guys have to be so diligent about your nutrition, especially when getting ready, because you don't have any assistance in terms of getting lean. So I mean, how long would your preps be? Would they be a bit longer, or?
Mine wasn't for the first couple of years, because simply because I've always stayed lean. And again, that's probably down to the sporting thing in the teen years. So I've always been kind of sub 20%, and that's, like, for me, it's comfortable to be between 15 and 20 all the time.
Yeah.
And then when into prep, I drop it like really, really quick, which is how I found out that the genetics are pretty good. I'm doing pretty well in that respect in itself. But I'd say you're probably talking, my preps were maybe between 12 and 16 weeks all the time. That's
long. That's shorter than my preps.
Yeah. So I mean, I'd say this time when I go to compete again, it'll probably be a bit higher, because as I say, like, I'm not quite sure how much muscle that I've put on since, but I am 16 kilos over where I was stepping on stage before.
Yeah.
So it will be a learning experience with the next prep, but I'd say it'll probably be around the 16-week mark or something around that.
Deadly.
And they do say to allow a little more for being natural to kind of adjust and things, but for me, I feel that that's kind of enough. That's plenty of time.
Yeah, I mean, I felt the only issue I had with long preps was it was more the mental side of it. You know, I'd rather do something short and fast and just get it done. Like, I'd rather just give it off for like 12 weeks, and then just have it done, as opposed to, I did 20 weeks at the start of 2019. So it's kind of like, that's what kind of let me down, because it was so long. So once it got to around 6 weeks, I stopped getting leaner. I hit my mark at 6 weeks, and then I just think if I had a shorter prep, I would have been able to blast through it a little bit more. But
yeah, because I can remember talking to you at one of the shows. I think, was it Muscle Contest or something?
Yeah.
And you just said it was one of the shows, and you just said you were just wiped. you wanted to eat, like, and that was it. And I think you and Carl were going training at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, how is that, man? She was sitting next to me, and I was like, how is that man even going to train? Because I didn't think you had it in you to train.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, I stopped getting leaner. It was like, what happened was, it was weird. It was like, mentally, I'm kind of, see, the thing is, when you're on gear, you can really push the food down and you won't lose muscle. But I didn't want to do that, because I thought I'd lose muscle, but I found that out too late. So I was kind of playing catch up at the end. But I mean, that comes due to, like, I mean, if you're training hard enough and like holding a good bit of strength, natural learn, you'll be fine. Like, it's it is what it is, you
Yeah,
know.
I think that's something that I learned very early on with the preps and stuff was I was able to keep my food high. I mean, every day of prep, I was having 100 grams of Cocoa Pops. That was me, and that was every single day of prep without fail until the last maybe 3 weeks.
Oh
That
fuck.
was where I was at, was having that with the protein shake in the morning, and that was me happy for the day as well. So my
Yeah.
energy levels were good. My training was still good. I was still at, well, I don't say our estimate of maybe what 70% body fat. I was still making the same lifts as I was at the start of prep, and being able to train heavy. Like I'm not going to say that I'm overly weak for my size either. So it was good solid lifts all the time, and I think that in itself, that little 100 grams of Cocoa Pops was a big factor in me being able to just enjoy still being part of prep. Not saying that it wasn't dreadful at times, but that was the one thing that kind of kept me mentally strong in it, I think.
Yeah. See, I wouldn't be. I'd be kind of a different mindset. It's like if I had Cocoa Pops, it's a trigger food. So it's like
Yeah.
I remember when I was working with my in 2019, I did one show with a coach, and then the rest was myself. And then I had a coach for the last show. So it's kind of like the first prep was weird. It was part of the reason it didn't go as well as I wanted was because it was a great diet, but it was way too varied. Like it was way too varied for me. So it's like
So
I just couldn't process it. You know, I'm like, just give me the basics. I'll follow that to
yeah.
a T. And like, I mean,
Yeah, and that's how I went actually, other than the Cocoa Pops. I think it was like that whole 80-20 kind of approach for me.
yeah,
Was that like one meal a day was that, and I still had a protein source along with it then, as well as the Cocoa Pops and the protein shake. But then the other four, I only need like 4 or 5 meals a day for my size, I suppose, anyway. And that kept me going the whole way through prep, and I think that's what helped me was just that 80-20 approach. So it shows how things can really vary with a person. Like, but as I said, like when you came down to it, you said that you yourself kind of that drain. But it's, I suppose for me, I couldn't be that strict with myself. I needed that one thing to kind of keep me on track rather than it being a trigger. I'm good with sweet stuff and that. I don't have to have it. It's just one of those things, and I'm always being tempted. Marian's always trying to feed me bits and pieces that are good, but I'm like, no, I'm okay. Like I can do without it.
yeah, no, for sure. I find like that's the bane of it's like it's bodybuilders and competitors, men's physique guys, classic. The reason this is literally why I think like a bodybuilder is a bodybuilder simply just because he can push the food. That's literally it. You know, I think guys who tend to stick to classic and the smaller and the not so light, the lighter weights, the lighter body weights, they tend to just, like yourself, you find prep, it would be, you know, short and sweet. And as you said, you're able to do it. So it's kind of, but do you find on the other hand now, do you have a bad appetite when you're trying to gain weight? Like, would you have issues there?
Um, I'm not. I wouldn't be overly sure, to be honest. I mean, for me, when I looked at prep, food was food. So I suppose that's kind of the side that I probably could push myself out of physique with if I wanted to eventually.
Yeah,
Because if I can get it in, I can get it in. I think as far as the appetite and as far as kind of cravings and things like that go, I'm never one for it. I think I find it okay actually. I think food with me is just one of those things where if I can get it in, it's more so me not making the food. That's my main problem, and it's something that I'm constantly telling people as well. But I think it's come from this whole mentality of I have to always be busy, and there again is probably part of the reason why I'm constantly lean is the fact that my needs so high all the time because I'm constantly wanting to be doing something. But I think as far as on the food front, I'm pretty comfortable if I have to force myself a little bit or if I have to eat 1,000 calories a day. I think it just either way. I could be a gremlin on 1,000 calories a day, but
yeah,
I can still,
you
if I
can
need
do
to.
it.
Pretty
Yeah,
crap for me because I know I'm missing so much potential. But it is what it is as far as I'm concerned.
yeah. No, I tell people now, like I've one or two clients. I actually prep two men's physique guys. and I've just found it was very, I had to scale back the food a lot because they weren't
Yeah,
carrying as much. But that was, I found the preps like, there's the other side of it. I think if you're not as heavy, um, it's actually easier for you to get in condition to a point, because you don't have to. You're within striking distance all the time. It's like even if you get a big bodybuilder, like it's like, let's say someone competes at 90 kilos, they're still there. I always say you want to be about 15 to 20 kilos above your stage weight when you're at the
yeah,
heavier body weight. Simply just, it's just the ratios. Like when you're
yeah.
lighter, you're going to be obviously within reach, but it's going to be like 10 to 5 kilos as opposed to 15 to
Yeah,
20 when
yeah.
you're lighter. So,
You're looking at maybe 20% extra kind of body weight.
yeah.
And I suppose for me, that's kind of roughly at where I'm at right now. And it's probably why, even though my eating's not great, it's probably why I feel that I am actually growing new tissue. Because it's not for me sticking religiously to a decent amount of protein. It's more I'm getting enough food in, and my needs down, and that's why the body weight's gone up, but my training is still heavy. So that's, I think,
Yeah.
what's tiding me over. And my recovery is very, very good. I can say that straight up. Like I could train the same muscle group 3 times a week if I wanted to, and still be able to continue on as well. So
Savage. Now, would you be working around any injuries or anything, or have you managed to get away
just that
with?
shoulder. Yeah, it's just that shoulder. It doesn't really govern what I do anymore.
Mm,
I think building around it, because it was a very common dislocation all the time. I think with building that muscle tissue around it, I've been told that it will strengthen that because the cartilage is worn away as well. So it could dislocate quite easily. But I think no one using control. I think my main thing for me was engaging with the delts all the time. That made a massive difference to me because I could have been throwing weights up and I just wasn't connecting with them properly at all. I think it was Shane that said that in his episode as well. He was just firing weight up at the start beforehand, but then once he started to control the lighter weight, it just made a massive difference to him, and that's where I found a big difference in myself as well. Was just learning to control things a bit more.
yeah, I mean, did you? No, absolutely, I agree with you 100% because most injuries I've had have been outside the gym. It's just been doing everyday things, you know. But the one injury I had, it was very close to a pec tear, you know. I could feel it,
Yeah,
you know. I was bringing it down. I remember it exactly. It was like, oh God, it was like 3 weeks after the show. I think it was like 5 weeks after the October season. So I was pretty much good off season mode, feeling happy, you know, making
yeah.
the gains. And what was
Ready
it?
to go.
I went from flat dumbbell press, grand. No, yeah, it was flat dumbbell press, and then I said, you know what, I'm going to do some flat Smith machine. But the angle of the Smith machine we have in the gym I'm at, it's not up and down, it's diagonal. So obviously, once you're up
Yeah,
there, it's up above your shoulders. It's not actually above your pecs.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that
yeah.
I just heard it. I could feel it. I just dropped it, and I knew just leave it for about a month, about 3 weeks, just come back. And
Yeah,
and so, but before the lockdown, it kills me because I was finally back up to pushing the heavy weights and everything, and I was en route to get into my biggest. You know, I was my biggest, and I was like, God damn it, you know what I mean? But
it's just
like,
typical. It's just that timing, isn't it?
but how have you been doing with the
But
lockdown?
yeah, like when you say that, I even forgot myself. Like last year, well, now I use the Smith machine a lot myself, but because ours here is straight
Yeah,
up and down, it's quite nice to use as far as the rows and stuff. Because I posted, I literally just remembered that I posted a video on Instagram last night talking about the fact that I tore a disc in my back last
okay,
year.
yeah,
So I completely forgot about that injury. But I do tend to work around that a little bit as well. And it's just kind of at the minute it's getting a lot stronger than it was. My back is, and again, it's just come from really trying to focus on what I'm doing and
yeah.
being a little bit more humble and dropping the weight back. and I think that made a big difference to me. And now, from where I was at before it happened, I'm able to pull maybe 20 kilos more per rep. So maybe I think I went from sets of 70 kilos to sets of 85, 90. Maybe not the best reps ever, but at the same time, I'm a lot stronger in that movement. And it's always a little awareness in the back of my head. And I think I always see the injuries as kind of a way for me to rethink what I'm doing wrong. Because it mightn't have been me doing something wrong, but it makes me more clinical. It makes me think more clinical of how I'm training. And focusing on the movements and focusing on the muscle group around what I've damaged, what I've weakened.
Yeah, how did you hurt your back? Was it in the gym or was it?
I was doing rack pulls hungover. So I was doing heavy rack pulls after a heavy night of alcohol, and things went wrong very quick. The way the rack was in the gym that I was in, it wasn't straight on. So the bar was kind of angled maybe left to right.
Yeah.
A little bit of a diagonal, and when I went to pull, I just pulled more with the left side than the right, and I just felt the pop straight away. And yeah, it caused a bit of a tear in the one of the, I think it was between my L4 and L5 or something. So yeah, don't drink and lift.
No, see, I'd be the opposite, man. I remember, it must be about 2 years ago now. I remember it was 2017. It was post show. I was doing deadlifting, and I hadn't deadlifted, like I deadlifted 3 times in the year prior. You know what I mean? I just don't do it as one of my main exercises. And I said I was going to do it. Worked up to good heavy sets, and it's never my erectors or my spine and my erectors and all the middle back. That's fine. That never gets injured or anything. It's usually it's like my connective tissue. So it's like all the tendons and the stuff. So I remember the top of my teres was, it was like a rip, little tear. And I remember I came back, took 3 weeks off doing that movement, went back, did the same fucking thing 3 weeks later. And but yeah, I don't think it was like a full tear now, but it was just a pain in the ass because I couldn't do any horizontal pulling. You know what I mean?
I was told, I think it was like to take 8 or 10 weeks off.
Yeah.
And I think 3 weeks later I was back in doing the same movements. But again, it was humbling and it took me back down in the weight. So I really focused on things a lot more. And I think if we look at, as many people say, like if you can work around it, work with it, because you can do a lot more than that certain movement, as long as you can find what works for you.
For sure. I mean, I'd say like if you have an injury, okay, like with that injury, it was just a case of it healing up. It wasn't a case of like debilitating, like a tendon tear or anything. It was literally just a muscle thing. So once that healed up, I just became more mindful of the movement, and I haven't got hurt since doing that. Now I do stiff legs and everything. So it was stiff leg deadlifts actually. Yeah, it was stiff leg deadlifts that got it. So I was working up to 180, and it was the 180 that did it. So I remember I couldn't go near 180 for months. Just mentally, I just couldn't do it. And then I did 1 or 2 reps, and I was like, it's okay.
Yeah.
But with your back, did you find it just took you a bit of time to get back to where you were, just mentally? After?
Yeah, I think it scared me for a while. It knocked the wind out of my sails because I didn't touch rack pulls for a long time after that. But because of my weight at the time, I suppose I was sitting at maybe 70 kilos, and I was rack pulling well over twice body weight. And I think it was just from there I stopped doing that. I just took that out of there altogether, and I took deadlifts out for a while. And I don't commonly use deadlifts, to be honest. It shocked me out of kind of certain movements, and to change up my own routines and find new ways that I would approach the likes of the erectors and stuff, and just find little things that would tweak it and make it a little bit stronger for the next time. Now I don't think so much, but the odd time I still get that sharp little pin prick in the lower back. But other than that, it's kind of not really a hassle anymore.
Yeah, no, the one thing that I am wary about is The only injuries I've had in my upper body that I've actually had to be very mindful about was 2015, 2016. 2016, so I was doing flat bench and I put on more weight than I thought it was. I thought it was 130, it was 150. So when I came down on the rep, it was the same thing. It was the insertion point. It was more the front delt, you know what I mean? Like, and then it was the exact same injury that happened last year. So, and it was from the same movement, you know what I mean? It was just from the same movement kind of pattern. It was just, so obviously I ended up getting back really into flat benching, and I felt comfortable with it, but I just think there's certain movements that don't really benefit you. Like, I mean, I would advise the people do as much dumbbell work as you can, because there's just more stabilization. But if you want to do barbell work, just stick on the incline. You know, you don't have to. You're not at injury risk. Smith machine is fine. If you have a good Smith machine, that's simply it. You know. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's one of those things where I would be the exact same as you there. I dropped out a lot of the barbell benching, and I stuck to dumbbells a lot more now. And even last week, just trying it out on my own and stuff, like I'm able to press 45s for sets.
Yeah.
And that's me getting a lot stronger than I was before. Like, I mean, when I started out lifting, for me, it was you're probably talking 18s were plenty and more than enough. And I think it's that consistency. If we were to talk to people that are kind of new to this and new to that side of things, it's that ability to be consistent with something and know that there is going to be an end result to it, and know that benching isn't the be all and end all. I think some people can push it a bit too much, that the heavy lifts are the only thing that are really going to make you change. But there's always a balance. There should be a balance of the benching and the dumbbells, and make it fun as well, I suppose, is the best way that I can say that you're going to grow.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. With your training, did Paul do that for you when you were working with him, or did you do your own training and he just did your diet?
Training was Paul. Training was all Paul at the time, actually, and I loved it. It was brilliant. Because it suited me well. It was always high volume.
Yeah.
He did say we went into the first season not with much of an expectation. It was actually Marion that was going to compete first, and then we had the discussion about it, and I was like, right, I'll try it. I'll give it a go, kind of thing. Because it wasn't something that I had ever had in my head to go and try, I suppose. But then once he said to me, look, give him a shout, see what you can do together, and see what kind of shape you have under there. Because I did, like I was, as I said, I was quite lean, and I had the six pack going on at maybe 18% body fat, whatever. And then from there, Paul just kind of dialed things in as we went along, and done it well, and got me down, because he did say to me, he said that there's a lot of guys going to have a lot more size on me, so basically I had to come and peeled. And that was the way it was.
Yeah.
The main thing that showed then on me was how diced my back could get, but I had no lats. Shane was the same, actually. Shane, I went down to Monastreven for a posing session with Shane, and if he could remember it, he would probably get angry, because I could not for the life of me engage my lats. I didn't know how to do it, and it was a massive sticking point. And I think he was glad that I didn't go for a second posing session. I just kind of took it on board that I'll do it myself from here on out, because it just wasn't working with me at all. I wasn't getting it.
Yeah, no, it's hard. I'll tell you now, trying to get see, I pose every day. Like, even when I'm not training, I do pose every day. I go through my mandatories. I just do it. It's just, I love to do it. So like my connection to hitting the poses and presenting the body, it's second nature to me. But if I can't do the men's physique poses, so when I was prepping my men's physique guys, I wasn't much use there at all. Like, I was kind of just like, like they'd hit their poses. They'd hit their poses in the mirror, and I'd know they're in shape. But the thing is, I was always hit it in the back of my mind because I know that men's physique, like it really depends. But in bodybuilding, it's just you want to be in condition and big. That's it.
Yeah.
But I know some men's physique guys who are maybe 90% conditioned or 80%, but they have a nice full round look to them, and they're lean enough in the midsection. So what I you know, like they don't have any water on them. Like they have a bit of body fat, but they don't have any water, so they're dry. That place is that's sometimes what ends up winning shows. I mean, like
well, I mean, for me, if you look at the likes of, say, even Mo Dundon, if you look at like some of the men's physique shows that he done, he was big in comparison to us and in comparison to the other guys as well. And he was a lot fuller looking, but it was just like, that's what I looked at, and I was like, right, that's the size that I want to be. And it can win shows and can get high placings, even if because I know he won't mind me saying that one of the shows I think he was feeling like he was off when I was on stage with him, and he was saying that backstage. But it's just a presence thing that makes a lot of difference, I think. Yeah,
for sure, 100%. Like I mean, that was the one thing I was kind of careful. I didn't want to peak the physique guys like I would myself or a bodybuilder, just because I didn't want them to spill over or anything like that, you know. Yeah, no worries. I think it's just my internet. It's absolutely gammy. I'll just pause it for a second. Can you hear me? Right, guys, so it's just my gammy internet. I will edit this anyway, so I'm just gonna, I'll just pause the recording.
We're good.
We're good. No, it's just my internet. It's an absolute manic thing up here. It's like where I live, it's like we only got broadband, and we don't even get fiber optic. We don't get any of the fancy stuff that like Dublin would get, man. So, and for some reason, the 3G seems to be on a snail's pace today. So I was trying to use my phone as a hotspot there, but I'm just going to edit the two clips together anyway. They won't know anything. So
probably doesn't help that I'm on 3 as well then.
yeah. No, it's that I was outside listening to music, and it was just, I remember like my podcast kept stopping, and I think it's just today. It never usually is like that, you know. It's like they usually send a text, but. Getting back on topic, man, we were talking about, I think we're talking about work, the training and injuries, but the one thing the main thing I want to ask you is, what was the, you know, motivation behind starting your own facility? Because it's a big jump from going from, like, were you like always in the fitness industry before this, or what careers did you have before you got into the gym business?
I was always around sales. I was always kind of around sales and retail, just like yourself in that respect.
Yeah.
I worked in Sligo, so I was down in Sligo doing just some fast courses back, because I never went the college route, so I was just doing some courses to keep me busy and that. And when I was in Sligo, that was actually my first taste of being in a gym. Proper. So I went to a gym called Genesis Gym that was in Sligo for a while. There was another competitor, actually, Paul White, I think, was running it there at the time.
I know Paul. I know who he is.
He was there at the time, and that was where I got my first taste of kind of a more raw bodybuilding style gym. And from there, I was toying with the idea of it, because I liked sales, but I also liked my training then, and it grew to the balance kind of tipped towards the training. And I was working down there in Dunn's, I think. So I was in Dunn stores in Sligo, and then I was in a nightclub, and I came home again then eventually, because the whole partying 4 nights a week and then working 5 days a week just wasn't the idea of what I wanted. I wanted a wee bit more than that. So I came back up home, and it was actually a neighbour of mine was running the gym that I used to work in. And he was talking to me. He was like, "Why don't you come out and just see, just have a look about the place and see if you wanted to kind of come on board as far as staff." So I did. I went out there, and then I loved it straight away. I didn't like the gym per se, because I had a lot of ideas myself, and I think that's where my kind of progressions came from then into wanting my own facility, because I wasn't really listened to too much. And then I got my qualifications, started PTing about 3 years ago,
Okay.
I think now. And yeah, it just, I suppose the relationships out there got a little bit sour because of what was required of me. And again, not kind of having an input anymore, when I was I was more so there than the other staff that were there. And I did have a bit of a say before there was a change of ownership. And then after that, it was just, right, you're here, you're paying us money. That's what we need. And eventually it got to a stage where their classes overtook the amount of emphasis they were putting on the gym, but the gym was 3/4 of the space. So I was like, right, I need to find myself a studio. And that was my initial idea, was to get like a maybe 800 square foot, 1,000 square foot studio up here. And I did look at a few places, because they just said to me, look, if it doesn't suit you, or it doesn't suit a certain type of clientele, meaning more the bodybuilding type of person, or the more physique type of person, or it was kind of, you're frowned upon posing and stuff. And I just, eventually it just got to the point where, for me, it made more sense to me to pay a landlord than to pay them to have my clients. So I thought, right, I'm just going to make this jump. Myself and Marion talked about it all ends for months on end, and after plenty of stressing, then we came across this 3,600 square foot gym instead of a studio. So it kind of progressed very rapidly, but it all came at the right time. And then there's been a lot of help come from different directions as well, from other gyms just referring me to stuff, or just giving me first shout on equipment that they know I'd love to have and things like that. So it just kind of snowballed really quick within the space of maybe a year and a half.
Yeah, no, that's amazing, because I'm like, it's only, if it's only the two of you, if it's only you and your missus, as the main body of it. Like, regards sourcing the equipment now, did you like do the auction like circuit, or how did you get about sorting what you have?
Yeah, so the auctions played a small part. I think maybe 5% of what we have is from the auctions, and then it was the likes of other gyms that were helping out. As I say, I can't say enough good words about Railway Gym down there, because they are always growing and always updating their stock. So as far as they're concerned, then they helped me out quite a lot with it.
Deadly. No, absolutely, man.
They were a big helper.
No, that's savage, man. Because like I every gym I know, there's a gym up near me called Go Gym, and I know the owner of that. He'd be a friend of mine. And what I found was, when he got his equipment, it was basically sourced from an NFL team, so it was secondhand equipment from an NFL team. So it was just being like, and I know the guy who got it as well. So I think it's just, unless you have like money out of your pockets, you're going to have to be inventive and just, share the love, as I say, because at the end of the day, if I had a piece of equipment that I didn't want, I wouldn't throw it. I'd just give it to another gym. I simply would just see if somebody wants to use it, give it away, sell it for a little bit of money, and that'd be it. But
absolutely.
You have a big facility as well. I mean, it's a fully equipped gym. So I'm like, did all your PT clients move into the gym when you opened that up and everything?
Yeah, it was basically an instant switchover. As far as the clients were concerned, no one really wanted to stay with the initial place, and they all came with me or were finished with me at the time. We kind of finished up where we finished up, or they moved, because there was a bit of a trade-off period, I suppose, where it took a bit of time to get the place up and running. And we started in here, I think we probably opened the doors with, I'd say, about 14, 15 pieces of equipment altogether, including dumbbells and stuff. And now we're sitting probably maybe 50, 60 pieces strong. And it's all been accumulated over a matter of, well, I suppose last August, I think, was the first time we let anyone in through the doors. Knowing full well that, look, if you are coming with us, I hope you can trust us, as far as knowing that we're going to do the best for you and knowing that we're going to push the place forward as fast as we possibly can. And it just so has happened. We have been very blessed in the way that it has happened the way that we've hoped, and the place will be looking really good as soon as we open the doors again. So the clients so far have been more than happy with how things are going. So.
And where's the gym located for anyone listening? It's in Ballybofey, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in Ballybofey. It's 20 minutes from Letterkenny, if anyone's ever up around this direction, and it's literally on the main Sligo Letterkenny Road. So we're basically the first building as you enter Ballybofey from the Sligo side. So we're pretty easy accessible. We're on the main road, I suppose, the main thoroughfare between Sligo and Letterkenny and Derry. So.
Deadly, man. No, deadly. No, it's inspiring because, like, you know, for someone who's getting into the game now myself, it's like I said to myself, look, I'm just going to join a semi-private gym off the bat just to get that income, you know, just get the financial security and then build up the clientele and then move into self-employment 100%. And I'd love to open a gym, and seeing guys like you open a gym, it's absolutely possible. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. But I don't think I could have a big facility. It would definitely be more catered towards my clients as opposed to a commercial facility. But I mean, if people like that, but that's just my own preference, you know. I mean,
I think here there was a need for that, and that's why when the place came up, it was like an instant, right, so are we taking it or not? Everywhere else we looked at, it was kind of like, right, there's this wrong or there's that wrong. But this was just an instant, yeah, this is our spot. And if it takes us 3 years to get it close to being full, then it takes us 3 years, but it's happened that it's filled up. We actually now, with the social distancing and stuff, we've spaced out our equipment. Some of our equipment, obviously, a lot of it, you can see it's all dotted around me. So it's not in place. We're actually coming up here late tonight to try and put together a bit more of a layout in the place, to start getting the head around things as we open up again. But the only one downfall that we have here is we're on the first floor. So all our equipment has to come through a window on a forklift. So if you can imagine, like say the likes of, we have a four station like jungle gym there, and the likes of that coming through a window that's about 2 foot shorter off a forklift is quite a feat in itself.
It's crazy, man.
If as they say, if there's a will, there's a way, and we wanted to make it work, and it's working. So.
Yeah, what's on the ground floor? We
have actually a car detailing place and a car sales unit next door. So they're both 1,800 square feet each. So we're over the top of both of those. And there's actually a pallet freight company next door that we have access to from the back of our place. So eventually down the line, if something goes very well for us and they decide to move to a different facility, then who knows? The sky is the limit then at that stage, because they have 3,600 square feet as well, and they're on the ground floor.
Deadly. I mean, I always say, look, as long as you get working bathrooms and, you know, just turn a room into a changing room, you're golden. It's really not that. It's just
like we have one solid little room for changing in, one solid little room for a bathroom, and with these limitations anyway on us for the foreseeable, then that's all we need. That's really all we need right now. So.
Yeah, I mean, what's it scary going into the lockdown? Because I mean, I know there's certain businesses that won't be going after this. I mean, like, as far as all the gyms I know and would be familiar with, they're not in danger because the memberships are dedicated members, you know. So we'll all
Yeah.
be back. So I mean, for yourself, was it? Because I mean, you only opened for like 3 months or
Yeah.
something.
I think we were, what was it, August? So about 6 months, 6.5, 7 months.
Yeah,
And that was just finding our feet. So it's been quite scary. It has been scary, but we're making it work where we can. A lot of members were good enough that when we started this out, I kind of shared my little blueprint for it, as it were, on some of the Facebook forums and stuff for like the likes of Irish fitness professionals and stuff. That we started instantly allowing rental of some of the equipment, and I started sharing out my blueprint of how I was doing it, and that's went quite well for us up until the date was announced that we're back, and now people are like bringing everything back to us. So it's like, I don't need it no more now. I know my deadline, so you can have your equipment back. But that has
perfect.
really helped quite a lot as far as alleviating a lot of the pressures that this has caused, because unfortunately it's going to close a lot of places, and it's sickening to see that. It genuinely is.
Yeah, I mean, the issue I would have now, because where I'm at in Wicklow, there's no real gyms near me. Okay, but I'm within drive. I'm spoiled for choice.
Yeah.
But the downside of that, because you're spoiled for choice, there's going to be some smaller businesses that are going to shut down, or they're going to go into arrears or something. But it's a shame. But that being said, you know, it is what it is. I think like everyone's going to have to deal with something in their own way. I mean, I got qualified the week lockdown started, and they couldn't send out my certs or anything because it was illegal to do it. We did it behind closed doors. So, and regards to even looking for work, it's hard because I remember distinctly every job I've gotten before fitness was totally through the internet. You know, I never really dropped. It was all through applications, and I remember looking at all the fitness jobs. Like, this is like years back, and even this year, I'd go on jobs.ie, Indeed, hundreds of fitness jobs, hundreds of salary paying like semi-private gyms online.
Solid job.
And my college graduates, and there's a group, and they're offering jobs, but nobody's offering jobs because the gyms aren't open. So it's like they can't even put anything online. So I'm just like waiting. I've applied for like three applications, and I'm just like, because there was only three, and it was in gyms I wouldn't even want to really pick. It was like energy, you know what I mean, like those chains. I'm sure it'd be fine to work there.
We need to get the room when we're back open.
Oh man, no, it's crazy because like, I mean, would you have like a staff team, or would it be like yourself and herself, and then maybe like PTs, or how would you run the gym? Like, what's your model? Because I know some gyms.
For us, the way it's been working up until now, as I said, like, it has been 90-hour weeks, so it has been predominantly me most weeks, to the point where she's saying, right, let me help you out. But it's like forcing a child not to look at sweets in front of them, because I'm all the time and I want to be here all the time, and she's like, just take a break from it. And even my brothers, I have two. I'm lucky enough that I have two brothers there as well that'll help out and staff the place for a few hours, just to give me a bit of a break here and there. One of them was just before the lockdown, like yourself. He was getting his qualification so that he could help me out, and that maybe he could set a little side income as well. As far as up until now, it's all been me. But there is, down the line, there is that idea that it probably will have a few, I'd say maybe two PTs or something, and that you're talking maybe in the first year after lockdown, definitely so. There will be that, because I do know at this stage that I need to step off the pedal a little bit, especially if I'm going to decide to compete again, because I know I'll not handle both as well.
I was about to say, I mean, I tell people this: if you're going to compete, there's two ways you can go about it. You can either get a job that gives you the freedom. Like, I know some people who love their jobs, so they're not going to leave it, but they're also in a situation where they can eat their lunch at their desk or something. So, I mean, that's fine. That's perfect for bodybuilding. But the other side of it is getting into the industry is probably the best bet in terms of, making bodybuilding work for you.
Yeah.
If you want to help, I mean, that's your best bet. Like, I just
yeah. Oh, totally agree. And there's a lot more understanding if you can get somewhere where they know what it takes. Then it's absolutely brilliant. I mean, there's guys that have been training in railway and stuff, and one of the guys has actually rented equipment from me near the start because he was on prep still. He didn't know if the shows were going ahead and that. So he was in prep mode basically. And he did say to me, he said, look, you don't understand how much it means to me for you to give me this opportunity to train still, just by renting him equipment. And the difference that made to him mentally was astounding. And it's something that he has said to me, I'd love to pay it back by becoming a member afterwards, even if it's only to come up once or twice a week. And then he said he would love to represent here as far as the shows are concerned, as far as some shows are concerned and stuff. And that, for me, I heard you talk about it on other episodes and stuff, is something that I really want to do. Is I really want to get into the side of sponsoring athletes down the line, because Donegal's a bit empty of it in general. So if we could try, maybe in the next 5-10 years, when I'm 40 years of age, I want to be able to say to competitors, yeah, look, I'm there for whatever you need.
No, absolutely. I mean, but the thing is, in Ireland, we're such a small country. Like, most sponsorships, max, like, I mean, I know, like, Glenn will cover Shane's travel, or like, if you're going internationally and you're winning shows and stuff, generally the organization will pay for your expenses anyway. So it's not like you. But in terms of a sponsorship, I think, like, even just giving a free membership to someone competing, that's simple. I mean, that's easy. And
it's a starting point. Like, the thing is about the sport is there's so many people that would be grateful for that chance to even just have something as simple as a free membership and tracksuit. Like, I think that's what a lot of places don't get, and that's what was baffling me about the former place that I was at. Was they had no concept of pride in the members and the bodybuilding respect.
Was it a more commercial gym that you were in? Was it more like a chain?
It was a commercial gym that ran a lot of classes. Okay. And the problem there was that their classes weren't doing well, and they were kind of pushing the gym side to the back burner. Because they weren't doing well with the classes, and that's what they wanted to focus on. So it's used more now as it's a 24-hour gym now, and it's used more as a class-based gym with the commercial side, and as a training facility for the likes of PTs and sports massage therapists and stuff as well. So we're kind of not treading on their toes, as far as I see it. Maybe they see it differently, I don't know, but we're not treading on their toes, and they're not treading on mine. We were also supposed to have a CrossFit gym happening a couple of 100 meters away. Now I doubt that will happen, but who knows? But it was a commercial facility as well. But after the changeover, as I said, the emphasis on support kind of dropped from the gym side and went more towards the classes. We did get a bit of sponsorship actually from the owners, the original owners. They helped us out, and another PT actually sponsored us a bit of money for our hotel and stuff. So that was quite nice at that time, and I'll always appreciate that. But when the change happened, there was nothing.
Yeah, no. I'm just trying to think. No, I got a free membership to Monaster Evan. That was it. I don't have it anymore because it's too far. From myself, it's about an hour drive, back and forth. So I'm kind of like, it's good to go every so often, but it wasn't worth the travel up. I mean, I can go down 10 minutes down the road, and I'd arguably say one of the best equipped gyms is 10 minutes from my house. So I'm like, I don't really have to go anywhere to train. I'm actually spoiled for choices. Like, I used to join different gyms for body parts, man. I used to go to one gym for legs, one gym for chest. I would do that, and I still do. So it's like, but that's the one benefit I have, is that but that being said, like, even when I work in a gym, I don't think I'd simply just say, I know I'm going to want to put input into it. I'm not going to, because I know what I want. I know what, like, I'm not looking to train like bodybuilders or anything. I'd be training the everyday person. But that being said, if a bodybuilder or somebody wanted to take it more seriously, absolutely, that's when I come into full on one-on-one coaching. But
Yeah, really focused. Yeah.
But that's when you need to be able to have your voice in the gym. I mean, if I wanted a piece of equipment, I'd pay for it and bring it in. Like, as long as I'm
Yeah.
given the option
Absolutely.
to do it, like that's all I'd ask. Is like they're like raw Sandy for me and me is very good for that, because you've had people order bits of equipment in and stuff, and but that's really it. I think it's just having that like good relationship between the owner and then the employees, obviously, you know, making it work. So
Yeah, I think that it's a massive thing. I think is that understanding, and even locally, I'm hearing of rifts all the time. Like there's in local gyms that aren't so local to me now. They're more Letterkenny direction, but I'm hearing of like fallouts happening, and gyms have closed because of fallouts. And it was publicized, so I know I can say this, but none of it makes sense to me to start something with someone that there might be any possibility of it going sour, because if you lose, they lose, and if they lose, you lose. So that was my main focus. Was it was always going to be solely me or me and herself that was in control of what we were doing, so that we can then choose, I suppose, who suits the business and who suits what we want to do as well. Because we can then say, right, Marion has no interest in being a PT at all. So but the number of females that have came to her asking her to train them is something crazy, because Marion is like 5'3" and trains like an absolute animal. I don't know how she does it. Like I can't train half as hard as she does, but it's because she knows what she wants to do and she's focused. And that's the way it works for us. Is we're both focused on two very different goals. Obviously, she's doing a different path to the gym itself, but we're both very focused on making this place the best that it can be, as far as bringing staff and the members as well as that. The best that we possibly can. So
no, deadly, man. I mean, like the thing is, like I couldn't work for a gym like Fly Fit or Ben Dunn's, and the sole reason for it is I'm sure there's guys who make a comfortable living. For sure, I know there's guys who make a comfortable living, but it's just I don't think I could do it to myself, because I know the owners of those places don't really give too much of a shit as long as they're getting their money in. Like that's very impersonal to me. I mean, that's not how I'd want to be. As a business owner, I wouldn't want to be that guy who doesn't give a shit. I mean, at the end of the day, like Ben Dunn's is a laughing stock, but there's good people who work for it, which is, and it's a thing. Like it's a weird situation, because anyone can get a job in those chains. Anyone. You're not guaranteed a salary though, and you're not guaranteed any financial security. Really, that's the problem, unless you're a staff member. And then I know they cap your limits and everything. But then there's the other system as well, where you're paid a salary, but you're just assigned to your client. So anyone that's asking for PT, you're just given to a random person by the gym. So there's two
I don't
sides.
like that one. So I don't
No.
find that to be beneficial to either the PT or the clients. I've seen that happen before, and I've heard that happen before. Even from a family member's point of view, I had an uncle of mine saying the same, that he's in a gym in Cork, and he's kind of just given whatever PT is staffing on the day, and the PT doesn't know of anything that's wrong with, or any injuries or any little quirks that suit him or things like that as well. And I think that's where the personal touch applies a lot more. I think a PT should be able to have an onboarding with a client, and a client should be able to have that with a PT and make sure that they sit before they go ahead.
Absolutely, 100% agree, because I've always found that like the classes, like I know in the smaller gyms, it's like you'd be teaching your groups, but then they'd come up to you. You know, they'd want to work with you one-on-one, and that's where you establish your client base outside of your salary. So it's like, you know, it works both ways. And then again, it's just a case of what facility do you want to work in? Do you want the smaller one or do you want the bigger one? But like a lot of them, all the successful models transfer both ways anyway. I mean, it's not like I tell people this, like if you get somebody who's just wants some form of positive result, they'll stick with you because they don't know what they're doing. That's what you're there to help them with. And with the everyday person, you know, getting results for them is a lot different than what we want. So it's like, you know, they just want to feel good at the end of the workout.
You're right.
No, I mean, they just want to feel good at the end of the workout and stuff. They don't, not like that's all you're there to do is, you know, push them through it and, you know, but that's it. But what's the name of the gym? Like for anyone listening.
So it's at the moment it's literally just DonMaguire Fitness gym. So it's that for now. We are in the process of putting a name to it.
Cool.
And we're just Marian's brother is a graphic design lecturer, so he's in the midst of kind of doing up the new logo and stuff for us. But it will be changed soon. But anything any way that people might be looking for it or trying to see any posts on it, then it will be just under DonMaguire Fitness.
Okay, not too bad, not too bad. No, it's like, yeah, I'd even keep it at DonMaguire Fitness. Just make a nifty logo for it and just stick it up on the front. Like, I mean, it's your gym, it's your brand, you know. So
yeah, I had that little battle with myself, and then it was more a thing of, do you think that clients will be comfortable going around saying, like, if someone asks them where they train, I train at DonMaguire Fitness. Up here, it's a little different to Dublin and the likes of that, where it's commonplace to hear people say that they train in the likes of a Ben Dunn gym. So it's a little bit more accepted that it's a person's name, but to me, as from a branding standpoint, it almost stands out to me up here that it's more of a studio. Anytime we had actually went around the country and looked for a gym, actually when we seen a name, we stayed away from it because we thought that, right, that's obviously someone's personal training studio. And then when people come into this now and even get a first look at the place, they're like, it's so much bigger than I expected. Which is why I want to give it a name and make sure that it's kind of its own brand, and I will continue my own personal training from here as DonMaguire Fitness, even when we do change the name.
Savage. No, absolutely. And look, I wish you the best of luck, Don. Like, I'll have to come up and train once this whole lockdown shenanigans are done, man. Like, I'm just looking forward to getting back at it. I have bands at home, and I kind of gave up on them. You know, I got like something out of them for about a month, and then I just left it. I do it once or twice a week. There's no point. I'm kind of like, you know what? I'm just resting up. I'm eating when I'm hungry. I'm not forced because, like, I mean, I'm if I'm not training, I'm not going to gain weight. So I'm just not trying to force feed. There's no point. So it's just healing up and just letting the body rest. But thanks, Don, for coming on, and I'll edit this clip to the other clip, and it should be up. I'll have it up in a few days, for sure. Yeah. Anyway, man. All right.
Take
Thanks
care.
for coming on, and for anyone listening or watching, obviously DonMaguire Fitness, and you're available for. Would you do online coaching or anything for people, or are you just sticking with the gym?
It's something I've toyed with. I am available for it. I haven't really marketed it much, but if someone's looking for it, then absolutely, I'm more than happy to talk to them about it. So it's just, even on Instagram, it's the same. It's just DonMaguire Fitness.
Deadly. All right, man. Thanks very much.
All right. Take care, man.
Sound. I'll give you a text. I'll give you a text when it's up anyway. All right. All right.
Sounds good.
See you, bud.
All right. See you.